So, um, I'm going to try to give a little bit of an explanation of my approach to driving the Porsche 9, sorry, Porsche 718 Cayman at the Road Atlanta track for the 60 plus touring car challenge. Um, so we're coming down the hill towards turn 12, the last turn, which is quite important for the lap time. Um, you have to keep your throttle in and go as far out as you can in order to maximize the speed onto the little straight here. We go right up until the edge of the track here, onto the grass, then brake just before the paved section starts. Um, Not very hard. We go about 40% maybe, and turn, and the car slides a bit. You aim to just about hit the apex at the curb, but don't really hit the curb. The car bounces a bit. Missed apex a little bit there, but no harm done, I don't think. Um, as you can see, we drifted quite far wide out to the left. Uh, it might be an idea to be a little bit more careful with the throttle, have a little bit less speed at the apex, and then bring the car further out to the right before the entrance to turn two, as it gives a more stable car. It's not rotating as you brake. And it could be easier to control the car because it gets quite light at the top here, as the downforce or the ground traction sort of loses a bit of its strength, and you approach the curb on turn three, sorry, turn two. So we brake here as we get to the curb. Stay up on the curb. Not very hard braking. You don't need to scrub all that much speed off. Maybe up to 40-50%. And then, of course, the trick here, or sorry, the challenge here is how do you decide when to turn in for turn three? It's blind, as you can see. We approach here, and you still cannot see where the apex is. You still cannot see the curb. It's over here somewhere, but exactly where is it and where should you turn? So there are a few markers you can use. You can see the white line going across the track here. That's sort of one way to judge how far into the corner you've come. Then you have the curb itself. It ends here, so you know roughly where you are on the curb and where that relates to where you should turn in. Um, there are some trees here as well. And if you aim for the gap in the trees, you should just about hit the right point on the curb of turn three. So let's see how we get along here. We stay on the curb. As we pass the white line, we approach the end of the curb. We start turning, um, and want to aim for that gap. Now the gap goes away, but then you can see there are some cones blocking the other chicane down into the S's, and you can use that to guide you towards the right spot on the curb, so that you don't get an off track and you don't go too far to the left and too much momentum. This is not bad. I could be a little bit further to the right, but it's not bad. The car will jump a little bit on the curb, come back, so you need to be careful not to drift out too wide. You might have to get off the throttle a little bit, as we did here. So you get on the throttle as you get on the curb, and you keep it in, although I had to feather a little bit here. Then as we move down into the S's, um, shifting up to fourth can be good so that you don't put too much torque through the rear wheels and you don't get oversteer. It's very easy to get oversteer through here and then you hit the wall on the left hand side. Feather the throttle here through these S's so that you can get up on the curb and straight line this section of the track as much as you can. These curbs are, okay to go on top of. The car doesn't bound too badly. Then one of the most tricky parts of the track is the entry and the execution of turn 5. So my choice is to approach this so that I get onto the curb, not at the beginning because it's very high, but a little into it. Uh, Use a bit of the grass if you have to on the right hand side. That's fine. Then brake. We start braking here. I actually probably was a little too early onto it. The car's jumping a bit, so I should have come into this at a different angle. I'm using too much of the curb too early, so the car's jumping too much. But I brake before we get to the curb, then stay on the brakes. Then as the car comes off the curb, it jumps a little bit, and you turn in and you use the curb on the left-hand side in order to not have too acute an angle and too stiff a curve through turn 5. As we look at the curve now, you wonder how on earth is the car going to make this, um, knowing that there is, a lot of bumps going over this curve. So we have quite a bit of steering lock on, almost 90 degrees, and then the car turns and it skips and jumps and behaves like a wild horse through there. But magically, it actually does make that turn quite well. It does, for most of the parts, stay on the track with most, well, not all four wheels, but you can see there is a lot of rotation inherent in the car. Touching the gravel there doesn't matter. And then we get onto the little straight leading down to turn 6 and turn 7. The most difficult part of the track is now done. To be able to control the car through the S's and across turn 5 is probably the most difficult part once you have been able to get through turn 3. Anyway, we get to turn 6, and here we brake just before, or as we get to the two yellow lines. So before the yellow line, maybe a car or car length or two before. Uh, Brake quite hard, maybe up to 60%, 70%, maybe even above that. And then trail braking into the corner. You can see we release the brakes, then keep them in trail braking mode until we get to the apex, then full on the throttle. The car understeers a little bit through here, but we get up on the curb at the entrance to turn 7 here, and then we brake a little earlier than you might think. We can see turn 7 here, the apex and the curb, and we start turning just before the end of the curb, and then we aim to just use a little bit of the curb in turn 7, not too much. Don't let the car jump too much. You want to keep the traction as much as you can. So here, the car just about touches, the high part, but you can see the rear tires stay on the ground so that you have traction throughout that turn. That's very important. This is one of the most important turns to keep your momentum because of the long straight coming after. So we go we could have gone further out there. That was okay, but we probably could have started the turn a little earlier. Then as we go through here, not much to see. As we approach turns 10, A and B, we go in the Porsche at least, we go up to sixth gear here, and then we aim for the curb on the outside of 10 or turn 10A. Brake between 200 and 100 boards, probably a little closer to the 100 board. Be careful with the car here. It's going downhill and there's a compression coming. So let the car handle the weight transfer as it goes downhill. And then you will get a lot of braking effect as the car compresses and get backs up into the uphill section. So careful, you can brake as hard as you can or as hard as you want to, as long as you don't get too much ABS activation. You can see the yellow lights of the Porsche here. So we actually have quite a bit of, but it's light. You can see it's blinking. It's not, well, it's a little steady here, but not too much. Then you want to use come on, mouse. You want to use the track on the outside here as much as you can. Put your car up on the curb and then aim for the inside here. You can use much more than I've used here. You can see the track marks of previous turns here. That's a better line. This is, too wide. I should have gone further in here. Then down to second in the Porsche just to get some rotation and some torque, then quickly up again to third. As we go through the last section here, use the track as much as you can, all the way out here. There's not really much to see. You're just on full throttle, just controlling the car. Then aim here for the inside white line here, and then track back out to the left-hand side of the circle of the track of the circuit. The entry to turn 12 is important because of the speed that you want to carry onto the start-finish straight. So stay in fourth here, then shift up to fifth in order to not have too much torque as you get through the corner here, but you need to turn in quite early. If you go to the end of the curb and then turn in, you will understeer through the corner. You want to be able to use a little bit of camber and the rubbered in section of the track all the way through here. So here, aim for the inside curb. You can go up on it. The car will bounce a little bit, but no harm done. And you will then track out until you hit the curb. And we have been able to keep full throttle through most of this, but a little bit of a lift in order to help the car move in here. You can see it's not much of a lift, just a little bit, tiny bit lift, and then back on the full throttle, just to help the car turn. And then we are back on the start-finish straight, and that was that lap. That was a 26.1. Not a bad lap time.